Включаю, оно появляется, да. Я, может, сяду пойду?
Может, здесь. Okay, I think we should start because everyone wants to go to party, drink some beer, and it's already time. So thank you for joining our session. Today we are going to share our knowledge about migrating especially large sites to Drupal 8. So we are going to talk about these topics. I will mostly focus on business side or process side, and Igor will share some technical tricks about migration to Drupal 8. First, raise your hands who migrated sites to Drupal 8. How many people? Not so many. So you probably will migrate in future because there are so many sites on different other CMS systems and Drupal 7. How many of you migrated more than 2,000 hours? Somebody? No? Okay. Mostly we will share our experience of migrating large projects, but maybe you can also use it on smaller sites that you're going to migrate. And we will base our presentation about our company, it's Yusk. So I will start with maybe a few slides about our company so you will know why we did it. So Yusk is an international chain selling different goods for home and living. We have thousands of stores, thousands of employees. And of course we have online presence, our online store based on our online platform. It started 8 years ago. Of course, at that time it was Drupal 7, so it was based on Drupal 7. We grew from one online store to 20 similar online stores presented on Yusk markets. It's mostly Europe. We have millions of visitors on our sites. And huge percentage of Yusk's revenue comes from online. That's why our online stores are very important for the business. A few words about the platform and architecture so you will understand what exactly we did. We have backend system, commerce backend that is based on Java that stores different product information, orders, customers, stocks in the stores, and so on. Drupal 7 at that time was used as a CMS, so it's mostly building web pages, present some information about the products for the customers, different landing pages needed for marketing, blog pages, different forms, and of course SEO, and so on. And we also have some part of the front end that is built on React.js that is integrated with both backends, Drupal and Java. Yes, this is statistic of our project, migration of our project from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8. And of course, our presentation is about migrating Drupal to Drupal. You may also experience some migrations from other systems. Yeah, it took 10 months, approximately 10,000 of hours. It's very approximate time. 10 developers worked on it, hundreds of tasks, bugs, and so on. We don't have so much content, maybe you will have more, but... And after all of that, customers noticed nothing. It's the same website. So, first we we had to sell Drupal 8 to our business and explain the benefits. And of course, everyone can also use this and sell it on your case. We can start from general benefits of Drupal comparing to other CMS. For us, it was very important that Drupal is customizable and flexible because, yeah, we need this flexibility on our project. It's open source, of course. All you know that Drupal 8 is cool. There's no vendor lock, so you don't depend on roadmap of any vendor of their product. Drupal is open source. It's developed by a community, and so on. There are a lot of also technical benefits. It's not selling to business, but also for developers. There are modern paradigms, Symfony, Twig, model techniques of decoupling, and so on. And it seems to me that Drupal 8 goes to enterprise, and especially our case is also a case of large enterprise project. So what is important for enterprise? Drupal is a mature system. It has history of many years. It's supported. It receives security updates. It has predictable roadmap and not depend on any vendor's roadmap. And there are actually many vendors that can support any Drupal projects. And it's important for enterprise who need support. And if you will work on the enterprise products, they have some specific, and this is, in our case, what we used, what arguments we used to sell Drupal. And usually enterprise projects have a long life cycle, so they live for a long time, actually. And when you receive continuous updates, it improves your maintainability. And long-term support is, of course, important, obviously. Enterprise products, they have long-term plans, so for many years in future. And we also had them. And when we had Drupal 7, and we considered all our plans, we didn't see any sense to build something big on old system, on old CMS. So that's why it was sense to migrate. This product is usually used by many users. It's customers, of course. It could be internal users, site managers, and of course developers. And all of them will benefit from the new CMS. And in the enterprise projects based on Drupal, usually integrated with many other systems. So that's why Drupal 8 is also better, because it's better for integrations and customizations. These are bullets that the process, how we selected Drupal 8, how we sold it, and so on. So we started with defining requirements. What do we need from websites, web shop? Then our business considered alternatives. It really makes sense to understand what do you need. Then there are some benefits that we really needed related to in-house product. When you have in-house product, again, you don't depend on any vendor. You are flexible. Your business is flexible to receive any feature faster in case you develop your product. If you already use Drupal, in our case, we use Drupal 7, so that was a huge benefit comparing to other systems. We have an internal developers team who was trained on some other projects to build sites on Drupal 8, and the whole team was motivated to do it. We also promised our business to migrate everything like content, all the features from old Drupal 7 site to Drupal 8. We also had an agreement that we will do one-to-one migration. So from the start, we considered that it will be very complex, and sometimes you can create something from scratch better, but in our case, we decided to do one-to-one, so there will be similar or better functionality. And after migration, we will during many years, we will continuously improve our platform. So what challenges you may experience during migration? some of them are general, some of them that we also experienced, and some of the advices. First of all, there is no update or upgrade path. It's real migration, so you can't use update PHP like it was on previous Drupal versions. Because of all this new architecture, you will need to rewrite your custom modules because of all this new architecture and so on. So it's really not easy. There is no migration of configuration or views. I would say it's almost no migration. And because of this module rewrites, you may experience missing contrib modules because maintainers decided not to migrate them to Drupal 8 and so on. And we actually experienced some amount of modules that we used in Drupal 7 that were not migrated to Drupal 8. There were some analogs, but our custom code that was based on old modules, we had to rewrite it from scratch because there were analogs, but they are different comparing to Drupal 7. So advice, you can start from analyzing contrib modules that are used on your project and find the analogs. There are some actually modules that can do it for you. Because of this complexity, you should not be afraid to estimate more time. And in some of the cases, it really makes sense, because if there is no Drupal 8 version of some module, it makes sense to rewrite something from scratch. We try to do one-to-one migration, but you can also consider it, and we also did some functionality. We rewrote some functionalities from scratch instead of just porting, changing APIs and so on. Next challenge, Drupal, it's a new Drupal. Well, you know that there is a huge difference, new architecture, composer, most likely you will have to rebuild your theme and so on, and rewrite many of your custom code. In our project, we had quite a lot of custom code based on PHP, and also, as I mentioned, we had some code on JavaScript. So it's easier, of course, to port or migrate JavaScript code if you keep markup and so on. And of course, reserve more time for rewriting and porting PHP code. It's the most complex, your custom code. You should begin with training. It's very important. It's very important to train your developers Drupal 8 because of these differences. Theming layer, in our case, we decided to keep all the markup, as I said. Some of the projects, they combine migration with major redesign. From the start, we knew that it would be not easy, so we decided to keep all the markup and not retest all devices and so on. And when you do this project, you should really prioritize deadline or quality. In our case, we decided to prioritize deadline and lose a bit with quality and do refactoring afterwards. These challenges are related to our project especially, but maybe it will be useful. So complexity and time, we really underestimated the complexity and time that we will spend on this project. Our websites, they are live and they're used by many visitors, so they should be ready 100%. We can't migrate 80% of the website. And even more complex, we had 20 websites, so we had to migrate all 20 web shops and be 100% ready. We didn't have any automated test coverage, and the amount of testing was really huge because many sites, many functionalities. We also have many markets where we use presented, so in different markets we have users with different devices and browsers, so we had to test many of them. In the end, we also had some features that we just forgot or missed during the migration. It was a small amount, but we had it. So again, what I can advise, estimate more time, even more time. Try to simplify your project. If you have really huge migration project, then try to simplify. Consider, like we did, one-to-one migration and not improving a lot. Of course, it's always better to have automated tests. And keep your Drupal 7 site for some time, because when we missed some content on production, we then just used our Drupal 7 database and migrated content that we missed during real migration. Okay, so how to prepare for migration and how to plan it. We suggest you to start from analyzing your content and data. It could be nodes, users, anything that you have, and consider if you will migrate structures for the content and data, or just content, or just structures, so any combination. It's a good chance to clean up your database. We also clean up some things and not migrated them to Drupal 8. If you don't have it, just create a features list, something that you will use many times for testing. Estimate contrib modules. Again, as I mentioned, you can check what contrib modules you use, if there is a Drupal 8 version or not. How many custom code do you have, if it's PHP or JavaScript. We also started from proof of concept. We just took 3 months for proof of concept, and we get some feedback if it's really realistic to migrate to Drupal 8 in our case. And it was very useful phase. Then we created project plan. Here I just showed a simple diagram. So first you need initial setup of your Drupal 8 site, and then you can run in parallel migration of external content, or just importing external content like feeds and so on, and actual migration from Drupal 7 to Drupal 8 of your internal content, in our case that was created in Drupal and was migrated to Drupal 8. And then there are many features, so you can also, if you have a large team working on this project, you can share different features with all developers. How we tested migration. We created test cases. Our testers created many of them, as you saw, and all of them describe different features. We started with testing isolated features, and then we had several rounds of end-to-end tests where our testers and business tested the whole websites. And again, we have 20 websites, so it's a huge amount of testing. It took a week for each end-to-end test. Also, we used a technique for testing critical paths. We also usually do it after releases when there is a really critical path on your website, like buy something, it's a critical path. So consider what critical paths you have on your project and start testing from it. We also did pre-production migration. We run it on production, then just checked that everything is good, and then just switched users from Drupal 7 site to Drupal 8. Suggestions: prepare test cases. Also try to test both functionality and data migration. It's important because you may lose some data, even if functionality will work, you may lose some data. We missed some SEO information and so on. And of course, automate tests. And now Igor will share some technical tricks.
Hi guys. So I was responsible for content migration process, so I will describe a few more technical things here. I hope everyone knows that migration is build it based on the ETL process, so it's just about source, transform data, and load data using destination plugins. At first, we need to understand that we can migrate from everywhere. So it could be even TXT file if you want to. But these 4 cases is the often used cases. So it's JSON, CSV, Drupal to Drupal, or from any database. But our case, of course, is Drupal 7 to Drupal 8. Here are the basic migration modules which we used. First 3 modules, it's Drupal core module, migrate, upgrade module, automatically create all migration YAML files from Drupal 7 or Drupal 6. And we used to use it, but then we just manually customize it. Migrate tools, migrate plus, in migrate manifest is great tools which extend and allow to run migration in different ways. I will talk a bit later about it. And migrate devel, it helped us a lot with debugging during migration process. Yeah, at first we started with structure migration and variables because before we migrating content, we have to have a place where we migrate. So we just generate migration structure with Drupal upgrade module, just use out-of-the-box solution from Drupal. Then we take only structure-related part from these generated YAMLs, create group which wrap all this structure and migrate the all group. Why group? Because when you create migration group, it's easier to debug it, and you have some kind of bundle which you can better migrate, I guess. Then we prepare variables migration. As you can see on a screenshot, it's not a full list, but we had a huge list and amount of custom variables, so we create simple one-to-one mapping, and we migrated all variables. So then we export all migrated configurations and structure just to Drupal general config system. And yeah, that's it. We mostly have the all structure for all 20 used Drupal sites, and it could take, for example, 1 day, and you already have a place where to migrate. Yeah, a few words about groups. On these screenshots, you can see examples of our groups. So we created group for each entity bundle. For example, for users, for taxonomy, and for each content type. So it's easier to migrate. You can roll back easier. You can debug easier. So, and example of group file. The most interesting things here is in first option. So in case of you will delete the model use migrate, then this configuration will be deleted also. And also good things, really useful, it's shared configuration option. So with this way, we can share configuration. In this case, it's database key, but you can share any configuration between all YAMLs in this group. Very useful thing. About custom plugins, why do we actually need them? With custom plugins, we can filter source, split source, do any alteration of data, for example, for fields, because different Drupal fields store data in Drupal 7 really differently than in Drupal 8. So with this way, we can handle it with source or process plugins. So the biggest one, source plugins, which we use. We don't use any hooks inside. We didn't use any hooks inside migration, so we use only migration way, correct Drupal way, so we use plugins. And as you can see, we have a bold use node here. So here is an example why we actually use custom source plugins. On this example, we can see that actually Drupal didn't have, I don't know, maybe already have, but didn't have any CO migration like meta tags and all these things. So we had to handle it by ourselves. And we just take and serialize Drupal 7 structure of meta tag, rebuild it, and migrate with the correct structure of meta tags into Drupal 8. Also, we define some our custom properties here, like exchange users, but it's really specific use things. And with this way, we can adjust source and put the correct meta tag with already transformed data to Drupal 8. Process plugins. Yeah, on first place is body text content migration. So as all you guys know that body fields often contain like a lot of data, like images, any media files, any embedded content, nodes, and so on and so on. So we had to create this process plugin, and all our body fields go through this plugin, and with this way we store inline images and Drupal entity files. We correctly adjust embedded entity because it's also different in Drupal 7 and Drupal 8. We create all this entity, we handle all inline styles and images directly in this plugin, and yeah, it was very helpful. And you write it one time, you're trying to handle all cases inside it, and then you just run all body fields through these plugins. Regarding debug, actually, I found only two ways. I prefer migrate devel. So it's when you just run it from terminal. On this example, you can see that you just migrate migration called block comments. You set limit 1, so only one node, only one comment will be migrated, and ID list, and this comment should have ID 24, and you call migrate debug. So with this way, you will have printed in terminal array with source data and data which will go to destination plugin. Or you can run migrate debug pre, and with this way, you will receive data array of data in terminal before process plugins will adjust it. And yeah, also you can use migration UI and Xdebug. So you can just go to migration UI module and run migrations through batch process and stop it with Xdebug in some place where you want. But not really useful because each time you can run the full migration. But I prefer migrate devel because you have a lot of options to actually take, for example, only needed ID. For example, in case if your body field migrated everywhere good, but in some node it not migrated. So you just take needed node by ID and try it with run with migrate devel. One more useful, really useful module, it's migration manifest. So it's just about order of migration. So how your migration will call all YAML files in which order. So it's simple example. It's just a really simple YAML file where you put all your migrations in needed order. Because, for example, you need some nodes to be migrated first, then nodes which have reference to this node. So with this way, we can keep needed order. Yeah, automation is a must. When we try to run migration manually, it always took a lot of time, absolutely always. But sometimes we had to run full migration process from scratch to finish, for example, 5 or 6 times per day. So to check actually the full process. With this way, we need automation. So at first, when we started to migrate, at first we create custom profile because we have 20 sites, so we had some installation profile for each, more general for each. We just configure blacklist and whitelist for config split. It's related to multi-site, and just set front page. Then we run automation scripts through Jenkins job. Yeah, that's what this script does. You can just read all things, but I will stop only on really necessary things. So in this script, we always recreate database just to be sure that it's fully empty. And then we run profile install. Our profile also creates some content which we need in future. That's why we enable delete all module, delete all content, and then just disable it. Run migration through migration manifest module. Also, we have content deploy, but I will explain later. Then we import our internal content through feeds, reindex them. And also we have a kind of challenge with our translations expert from Drupal 7. In Drupal 7, in React application, we not really correctly use translation context. And when we just get translation file from Drupal 7 and try to import it into Drupal 8, we have had a lot of amount of errors, and we had to do something with that. So we create some alterations in Drupal 7 where we alter some strings which not correctly saved, but in Bash script we just go to Drupal 7 export the translation with all alterations and just import in Drupal 8 also all this migration automation steps. So it was created inside the Bash script, so just some comments. Yeah, then we just clean up all things which Drupal didn't delete out of the box from migration modules. So like migration table, this issue should be fixed probably already, but not for us. We had to do this by ourselves. And set cron key. Why do we need that? Just because we have, as I mentioned, we have multi-siting. We have 20 size, and we have one cron key for cron tab for all. So we set it, and yeah, with this script we just run Jenkins job 5-6 times per day, and we can test the full process just from scratch and see, and our testers able to check the full process and full content and all and so on and so on. Technical challenges. Actually, to be honest, in content migration, it's pretty easy. It's not really difficult. So, but there was some problems. And regarding panels, we used panels a lot in Drupal 7, and panes. We have panels in Drupal 8, but we don't have any panes. So panes in Drupal 8 is just a block. So we created all these things manually. Yeah, because we just recreated. In default content, that's also things about blocks. Like we have some SVG icons inside content block, and in Drupal 7, but we decided to not migrate this, so we just use default content deploy module, create all these blocks with content one times, then move it as the same thing to configuration, and then on the 8th step, we just import all this content as configuration, and yeah, that's it. Yeah, we do it manually, but we did it only one time. We had really complex paragraphs migration because of our custom solution in like kind of grid stack. Why it was so difficult? Because as I saw, and when I created this paragraphs migration, it's so paragraphs out of the box, they has migration, but it's not really simple. From my opinion, it's not really work good, I guess. So paragraph actually difficult to migrate, but we have paragraph with data changes during migration. So it was complex. And translation strings, as I mentioned, we mess a bit with strings in Drupal 7, and we should always remember about SEO, and we should know that Drupal don't have out-of-the-box solution for any meta tags. So that's mostly it. And any questions?
Yeah, I think, on my opinion, this question is really complex in general. In our case, it really makes sense. But you should also really think, in your case, if it makes sense. And we just shared some knowledge and our challenges, and you should also consider how many time it can take for you and answer on this question. Yeah, I don't think we have time for questions. Do we have time for questions? No? Sorry. Everybody wants to go to party. You can ask us any questions after presentation, or contact us in the internet. Share your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Here are the small presents, please. So, for remember this conference. Okay, here is the end of the conference of the day. In this room will be the closing ceremony, whatever. Please join.